Hello and welcome back to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process and hopefully buy really happy. I'm your host, Chayse Jones, and joining me today is the 7:30 Report's own Sam Hunter. How are you, Star?
I was wondering what you were going to go for. I was like, we're doing a market wrap. Is he going to go with like Data Daddy or something weird? Yeah, hey, thank you for my 5 seconds of fame.
If you weren't watching ABC the night before we recorded this, which is the 3rd of October.
Last week.
Yeah, ask your mum because she would have watched it.
100%.
We are here to do said market wrap Data Daddy. And September, again, it just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, more of the same. It's busy.
Yeah, it feels it, and the numbers back it up. Again, another 1.1% growth, which is that's serious stuff.
Yeah, that's where people start wondering, are we ever going to be able to buy a house? And that's not a nice feeling. You've kind of sacrificed for however many months or years in some respects to then go and buy this property, and suddenly the day you decide that you're ready to buy, it's another 15 grand.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, contextualize that as $1 million purchase, and that's $10,000 every month. Just bang, going and getting further and further away from you.
And that's the average, right?
For sure, it's different at different segments.
For sure, I think we put a property under contract yesterday prior to the first open home, and we offered 1.1% above the asking price. Strange thing, having a property with an asking price on it. I reckon, to all the real estate agents that listen to this show, it's a pretty good strategy.
Give it a crack.
Yeah.
See what you think. Test it out.
Turns out, and again, we did that because we were confident that the market is only going one way. We knew that the asking price was a mechanism to get people through the door. We got through it with 2 other parties early, and 2 of those 3 decided to make an offer, and we really wanted to buy the property before there were 25 or 30 other people through there. This data is not there to scare people. It should give you the confidence that all good property, and I think that's the key word, good, is selling for a premium price, and it's selling beyond the comparable data that you're looking at. I said it on the 7:30 report. I was
flex.
It sometimes feels like the market's going up by 1% a week. Yep. And that's the really good stuff. When there's 1,000 shoes at the front door and the agent's like, we're just going to do a best and finals by Monday at 12 o'clock, get your offers in. And then you might be lucky enough to get a text message that afternoon confirming that time frame. If you feel like it's the right house for you, then put your best foot forward. Give it everything you've got, because we were going to put this in our Instagram meme-laden market wrap about stuff feeling cheap by Christmas. But I didn't know whether that was the right message for the masses, because potentially you'll buy something and you'll be stoked with it over the very long term, but it still might not feel cheap at Christmas, such as the heat in the market at the moment. And I would expect that to continue, because from October through to, call it the 30th of November, people want to move in by Christmas, and they'll pay what they need to pay to move in by Christmas. It's always the 2 most expensive months every year in Brisbane to buy a house. Prices tend to spike, even in a market where it's not going up by 1% a month. They tend to spike again in October and November because of the Christmas threat almost. So expect that. Find the right house. Go hard at it.
Definitely. Like, if you are buying something sub $1 million right now, if you are buying in units, townhouses, entry-level housing, you might feel like, as you were saying there, things are going up at 1% a week. Don't look at comparable sales from 3 months ago. You need to be looking at what was the most recent 2 sales and make a decision based off that where your offer is going to sit.
For sure. Is this house better or worse than that? Because that sold last week for $750 and they're telling me that this is worth $780.
Yeah. There are 7 good weeks of buying ahead. Between now and that lull, let's say. Time is of the essence in more ways than one. Yes, don't think of it as like, oh, hey, that's it. Come November 30, turn the tap off. There are still deals to be done in December. But for now, it is about moving quickly and confidently, not feeling rushed. But if you're given, and this is an anecdotal take based off some conversations that we've had recently with agents, is that people don't recognise the opportunity they're given when they're given stuff potentially ahead of launch, pre-market, off-market. If they've put it in front of you, it's probably for a reason. They've probably recognised properties that you've offered on or been really interested in the past, and it's like, hey, well, this is the next one, and take those opportunities. Because the threat, like you say, of Christmas, there's also the threat of the first open home, similar to what we did this week with that particular property, is if you're able to see a property, understand everything about it, understand motivations, reconcile with the value of that property and offer on it ahead of the potential 30 groups that are going to see it on Saturday, take the chance.
For sure, you're in a good spot, I think. And the other comment I'll make, expect this conversation in the first week of November from us to say pretty much what we're talking about now. We would expect there to be very similar growth. I don't think it's going to spike. I probably don't think it's going to be under 1%. And then it's very likely going to be the same for November. I would say that if you don't find what you're looking for between now and Christmas Day and you're feeling a bit deflated, sitting in the pool ring, having a beer on Christmas Day with the family, don't worry about it. Prices don't tend to spike in December, and they probably don't tend to spike in January. So November comparable sales is still going to be pretty comparable in January when everyone comes back to work. The market tends to not necessarily grind to a halt, but it is slower through December and January because it is the only time of year that people in real estate have a holiday. So if you don't buy this year, it's not the end of the world. There'll be opportunities next year, but it will explode again. Not just I don't expect prices to explode, but the activity will explode. There will be people who are at Christmas going, this is the year that we buy. We're ready. We've saved. They got $5,000 from mum and dad at Christmas to help top up their deposit, whatever it might be, right? That'll happen over the Christmas break. And so you'll have the people like you who may not have bought this year, plus the new people next year. And that's why Q1 is also usually the time that prices go a bit nuts again. And
we'll save this for the, let's call it the November market wrap, but there is a chance to reset over Christmas. There's a chance to reassess where you are. Compromise is a big part of real estate, right? Sure. It's all, the buyer triangle. We always talk about it, about, price, property and location. And you probably can't have them all. And price is often the one that is hard to compromise on. But having those conversations with your mortgage broker, understanding with a couple of rate cuts in hand, maybe selling your own place, means you can unlock some more money without having to pay any more repayment-wise. But location, property, would you be willing to have 2 toilets instead of 2 bathrooms? The 1.5 bath. Would you consider doing the renovation on said bathroom, or is it location that needs to change? You want the 4-bed, the 2-bath, the 2 living space, pool. Would you go 2 suburbs out to access that perfect property or more perfect property? Not to lump in on the fear mongering that is potentially associated with certain TV programs that people appear on a Wednesday night, but first home buyer guarantee scheme kicked off a couple of days prior to us recording this. With that, it feels like that sub $1 million market is probably going to get an extra kick along, or at least there will be a perception in the market, almost like, oh man, get ready. It's going to get even crazier.
I think
Thoughts?
It's just made it easy for real estate agents to say there's heaps of offers, right? Because, again, you're right, it is the perception. I think it will end up being the reality. There's nothing that... so if you've been saving for a deposit for 6 months this year, there's very likely chance, even if you're only buying at $900,000, that you probably haven't got your full 20% ready to rock and roll. But you might actually have 15 grand, 20 grand, and suddenly the realms of getting close to buying a property are open to you, right? So what does that do? That brings more people to open homes. If there's more people at open homes, there's the thought of more competition. If there's the thought of more competition, it's higher offers, it's higher sale prices. The market continues to move forward. If you're buying a house in Brisbane, it doesn't really affect you in the kind of greater Brisbane area because a lot of that property is over $1 million. But if you're looking at relatively high quality townhouses in good suburbs, and certainly units in most suburbs of Brisbane that are more than 5 years old, let's say, it's going to be more expensive from this weekend, in my opinion. And this was a policy to probably win some votes, not overly thought through. That's the government. We won't make this...
Disclaimers.
Let's not make this podcast too political.
It does feel like too many levers were pulled all at once, right?
Yeah, where I think the Australian economy, the notion of confidence, everything is so closely tied to the property market that when it sneezes, everything else kind of stops. So whatever government's in, whether it's blue or red, is looking for a lever to pull to keep it going. I I don't think the lever to pull was to make it harder for a first home buyer to go and buy a property. But it is what it is. Here we are. And I think if you are looking for that 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit in Brisbane, it's going to feel pretty wild for a while, because there are people who were thinking about buying a house next year that are going to open homes on Saturday.
Fast tracked. Yeah, I mean, I've had discovery calls with people this week that were like, hey, we were planning on doing something next year. What are your thoughts? Are we going to sort of miss the boat, so to speak? What I would say to them, and what I did say to them, is don't rush.
For sure.
You need to be not only financially ready, but you need to be emotionally ready to go and buy. And to give yourself a 7-week runway in which to fast track this search that you had that you were going to start next year is probably not the ideal way to go about it. Like, yes, you're going to jump into a tire fire, so to speak. It's going to be insane for those people to be sort of learning as they go, and that's probably not the best way to make really good real estate decisions, in my opinion.
But there will be people who are like that. Like, again, I think if you're out there looking at property under $1 million, you're going to start seeing mums and dads standing next to their first home buyer kids or kids-in-law a lot of weekends, because it's the same thing. It's like, we've got to go now so that we can buy today. It'll feel expensive, but if there's more and more and more people who are suddenly ticking over the 5% and filling in their paperwork and getting themselves organised, and the mortgage brokers are getting their heads around how to do all this, then it's going to be more activity. It's going to be more people at open homes. It's going to be more offers. It's going to be a higher price.
And do you think that there's going to be a reflection in the middle market sooner rather than later, like the upward push? Or do you think that's probably something that's going to be a flow on from this sort of 7-week period into next year?
The other part of this perfect storm is there's loads more people who can now go and buy a property. There's still not that much on the market. So the people who do make a decision to sell will probably have access to a little bit more equity than they necessarily thought that they would. So potentially then their next step is going to be bigger, or maybe just more expensive and not actually bigger. So yes, to a point. But I think that middle market, I would have said 2 years ago, that middle market was kind of 1.4 to 1.6. Now I would say it's 1.6 to 2 mil, realistically.
Tough segment to buy in.
Where it's like, we'd love to spend 1.6, we can spend 1.8, and you are kind of scraping through, compromising, buying for 1.7, maybe 1.75, right? And actually 1.8 to $2 million, and it's not lost on me how nonchalantly I'm about to say this, but $2 million doesn't buy you
what you think it does.
Yeah, for sure. I think of $2 million, and I had this conversation with a mate of mine in the UK yesterday. He's like, what's £1 million buy in Brisbane? And I'm like, it's a nice house, but it's not luxury. And that is weird to say out loud.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it doesn't guarantee you the pool. Certainly doesn't guarantee you the second living area, stuff like that. Like, and talking of that, the buyer triangle, and we have that conversation with those middle market buyers all the time, because those are families who are looking to move up from their potential 3-1 into the 4-2-2, and to feel like that's the forever as opposed to the family home. And when you're making forever decisions, it feels like it's got to tick more boxes. So the compromises are harder to come by.
Your point on location, I think a question we ask our clients, and we try and have these conversations around compromise before anyone's a client of ours, right? We'd rather piss people off before they work with us.
We'd rather challenge them beforehand.
You got to work out how important 2 kilometres is to you, because fundamentally that's the distance that you may need to travel. And if you're walking, it's a long way. If you're driving, it's not that far. But work out how much that's actually worth to you, because if you've been looking for, let's call it more than 4 months, but not this year, and you haven't found what you're looking for, it probably exists 2 kilometres, probably further down the road, like further away from the city. The next couple of train stations along, you figure out what that 2Ks looks like to you and figure out what it is worth to you, because I would say to the vast majority of people who are not having luck in the market at the moment, that's the answer for the most part. And you will find the dwelling that you're looking for in the location that you may have to compromise on, or you're not going to find the property that you're looking for in the location that you really want, but that comes with more work and more cost over time. So do you want to move in, lock the spot down, and potter for the next 3 years to get what you want, or do you want to move in and put your feet up and drive 2K to work extra every day?
That's right. Well, the streets of the Gap, Everton Park and Wakely are going to be absolutely loaded this weekend when people that are like, wow, 2Ks down the road is sick.
Yeah, the Gap is sick. I'm a convert. Sign me up. I'm out there every day and I love it. And for some reason, I've never been stuck in traffic getting out there, which is what I used to rag on it about. So to the residents of the Gap that listen to this show, well done. Good choice. Go to Gap.
Nice one. And my thoughts are that with this 7-week run into Christmas, time is important, as in the pace of the market has never been faster. Don't assume that things are going to make it to first open homes. Don't assume there's going to be a chance to inspect things for the second time. If you are in buy mode, really sink your teeth into it. Take the time. If you can have an opportunity to extend your lunch break to go see something on the Wednesday at lunchtime, do it. You will put yourself ahead of the 30 other people that assumed it's making it to the Saturday. You get to then have a discussion with that agent about how you can take that away from the market. Those are opportunities, and that is where good buying happens. And it's when you don't make assumptions and surprises about, oh my God, wow, now this has got away from us because we just didn't go hard and get ahead of everyone else.
Sam? Cue the song.
Let's do it. He's Sam, I'm Chayse. Cue the song.